Welcome to Echoes from the Heart, the weekly homily podcast from Immaculate Heart of Mary Parish in Wayne, New Jersey. Each episode offers a moment of reflection, a word of hope, and a chance to let the gospel speak to your life. Thank you for praying with us today.
In April of 1970, the Apollo 13 mission was supposed to land on the moon. That was the plan. 3 astronauts were traveling farther from Earth, preparing for one of the great achievements of human exploration. Then everything changed. An oxygen tank exploded. Power was limited. Water was limited. The command module was damaged. The moon landing was canceled. Suddenly, the mission was no longer about exploration. It was about getting home alive. What strikes me about that story is that the astronauts could not simply decide their own way home. They were brilliant, trained, disciplined men, but they were also in danger. They had to listen. They had to trust the people in mission control. They had to follow instructions, sometimes very difficult ones, step by step. They could not see the whole path at once or fix everything at once. They could not pretend there was no problem, but they could trust the voice guiding them home. That is why this story opens a door into today's gospel. The disciples are not in space, of course, but they are disoriented. Their plans are falling apart. They do not know what comes next. And into that fear, Jesus speaks words they will need more than ever. Do not let your hearts be troubled. We have to understand where those words are spoken. Jesus is not saying this on a calm, easy afternoon when everything feels peaceful. He says it at the Last Supper. Judas has already gone into the night. Peter will soon deny him. The cross is coming. The disciples are confused, afraid, and losing their sense of direction. So when Jesus says, "Do not let your hearts be troubled," he is not pretending life is easy. He is speaking directly into fear and uncertainty. Then he says, "In my Father's house there are many dwelling places." That is such a tender image. Jesus is not describing heaven like a distant idea or a vague reward. He speaks of a house, a home, a place prepared, a place where we belong. Most of us know what it means to want a place where we are safe, a place where we do not have to perform, a place where we are known and still loved. Jesus tells us that this is what the Father desires for us. God is not looking for an excuse to keep us out. God is preparing a place for us. But Thomas, in his honest way, asks the question many of us would ask. "Master, we do not know where you are going. How can we know the way?" That is one of the most human questions in the gospel. We ask it when we are trying to raise a family in faith, and the world pulls in every direction. We ask it when we are grieving, tired, disappointed, or unsure what God is asking of us. We ask it when we want to believe, but our hearts are troubled. Jesus does not answer Thomas with a map. He does not give him a program, a strategy, or a set of directions. He gives him himself. "I am the way and the truth and the life." That sentence is not only something to memorize, it is something to live from. Jesus is the way, which means faith is not simply knowing religious information. Faith is walking with him, letting his words shape our choices, and asking whether our decisions are bringing us closer to Christ or farther away from him. Jesus is the truth, which means he shows us who God really is and who we really are. The truth is not always comfortable, but in Christ the truth is never cruel. It heals, corrects, frees, removes the masks, and brings us back to what is real. Jesus is the life, which means he does not simply improve our life from the outside. He gives us life from within, the kind of life that sin cannot destroy, fear cannot control, and death cannot finally take away. Then Philip says, "Master, show us the Father, and that will be enough for us." There is something beautiful in that request. Philip wants to see God. He wants clarity. He wants certainty. And Jesus answers, "Whoever has seen me has seen the Father." In other words, if you want to know what God is like, look at Jesus. See him touching the sick, forgiving sinners, welcoming children, weeping at the tomb of Lazarus, washing the feet of his disciples, and finally giving his life on the cross. This is not a distant God. This is not a cold God. This is not a God who only tolerates us from far away. In Jesus we see the face of the Father, and the Father is mercy, patience, truth, and love. That message is especially beautiful this weekend as we congratulate our First Communion children. They received Jesus in the Eucharist in a new and beautiful way. What a gift! But First Communion is not graduation from church. It is the beginning of a deeper friendship with Jesus. The Eucharist teaches all of us the same lesson. Jesus is not someone we visit once in a while. He is the way we walk, the truth we trust, and the life we receive. When a family keeps coming back to Mass, week after week, even when life is busy, children learn that faith is not only something we talk about, it is something we live. So maybe today the question is simple: whose voice is guiding me home? There are many voices around us. Some tell us to be afraid, angry, distracted, self-sufficient, or constantly in control. Some promise that success, comfort, or popularity will save us. But Jesus is not simply one more helpful voice among many. He is the one who knows the Father, comes from the Father, and leads us home to the Father. When our hearts are troubled, when we do not know what to do next, when family life feels stretched, when faith feels weak, or when we have drifted, the invitation is the same. Return to Christ. The astronauts of Apollo 13 made it home because they listened to the voice that could guide them through danger. They did not see the whole path at once, but they followed the next right instruction. That is often how faith works. God does not always show us the whole road. He gives enough light for the next step. He gives us His Son, the Eucharist, the Church, and one another. And above all, He gives us this promise. Do not let your hearts be troubled. In the Father's house, there is room for every troubled heart, for the faithful and the struggling, for those who feel close to God and those who feel far away, for those carrying grief, questions, fear, or weariness. There is room for us, and Jesus Himself is the way home.
Thank you for listening to Echoes from the Heart. If this reflection blessed you, consider sharing it with someone who might need a word of hope today. For Mass times, parish events, and upcoming programs, visit ihmwaynenj.org. God bless you, and may your week be filled with peace and grace.